Absolutely happens all the time.
Or maybe you've been in a meeting, watched someone present, and found yourself weirdly convinced by them. They spoke with such conviction, right? Even if maybe the actual substance felt a little thin.
Uh-huh. Charisma can be very persuasive.
Yeah. Or trying to estimate something, I don't know, attendance at an event, the value of something, and that very first number that just pops into your head, maybe totally random, it just seems to like stubbornly anchor your final guess.
That anchoring fact, yeah, it's powerful.
Welcome to Deep Dive. This is where we take a whole stack of sources, research papers, articles, our own notes, and really dig in to find those important nuggets, the surprising facts, the critical insights, just for you.
We do read so you don't have to, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And today, we are plunging into something that's, well, it's both incredibly familiar and still pretty mysterious. The intricate machinery of our own minds.
I would think.
Right. We're going to explore these surprisingly efficient, but yeah, often error-prone ways we make judgments, decisions every single day. We're going to pull back the curtain on mental shortcuts we use, the biases these create, and maybe why understanding this in the world can actually be a powerful tool for navigating the external one.
It really can. Source material look covers decades of this fascinating research in psychology. It reveals these core ideas about two fundamental ways our minds seem to operate.
One fast, one slow.
That's the gist of it. Yeah. One fast and intuitive, the other slow, deliberate. And the research explained why we fall into these predictable traps, these errors and biases.
And actually, understanding these patterns is just like academic.
Not at all. Recognizing them can fundamentally change how you see the world, how you evaluate information, even how you understand your own past actions or plan for the future. It's really practical stuff.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. Unpack these core ideas from sources, bring them to life with hopefully vivid examples from the research itself.
There are lots of good examples in the source material.
Reveal the so what for you, for your daily life, your judgments, your decisions. Get ready for maybe a few moments where you go, that's why I do that.
Yeah, those aha moments are definitely part of the journey here. And what's so fascinating, I think, is realizing just how much of what drives our thinking, our behavior, it happens below the surface, below conscious awareness.
It's like having two systems running in the background.
Exactly, running in parallel, constantly influencing each other. It's like, two characters in your head.
Okay, let's put these characters then. The famous System 1, System 2. Tell us about System 1 first. What's its deal?
Okay, System 1. Think of it as your mind's automatic engine. It's incredibly fast, operates pretty much effortlessly, and often feels quite emotional. It's always working, in the background, constantly generating impressions, feelings, intuitions that just pop into your conscious mind.
Like instinct.
Sort of, yeah. It's System 1 that lets you instantly understand a simple sentence like, the dog chased the ball. Or recoil from a scary picture without thinking. Or just glance at a group of lines and get a sense they're all alike without counting them.
Okay.
You register colors instantly, form an impression of someone's mood from their face. You can even judge the average length of lines in an array, apparently, even while your conscious mind is busy doing something else. It's a master of efficiency and, importantly, pattern recognition.
So it's the part that reacts, recognizes, forms those quick impressions without us really having to think consciously about it.
Precisely. It's always on, always trying to make sense of things quickly based on past experience associations. It's your gut feeling generator.
Okay. And then there's System 2.
Right. System 2.
And that one feels more like, well, like actual work.
Yeah.
Like thinking hard.
That's a perfect way to put it. System 2 is slow, it's deliberate, it's logical, and crucially, it requires effort. Mental effort. It gets mobilized for the complex stuff that System 1 just can't handle on the fly.
Like math problems.
Exactly. Calculating 17 times 24 in your head, that's pure System 2. Or if I asked you to count every single time the letter F appears on this page of text.
Okay, yeah.
That requires System 2 setting a specific task set, focusing attention, and diligently following the rule. Comparing two washing machines based on multiple features, solving a complex logic puzzle, parking in a tight space, anything that demands sustained attention and effortful processing, that's System 2's job.
I remember reading about the Add 3 task in the source material. That sounds like a perfect example of System 2 under strain.
Oh, the Add 3 task is brutal. It really highlights how demanding System 2 is and how limited its resources are. Basically, you hear a sequence of digits, say 5, 2, 9, 4... and you have to call out a new sequence where you've added 3 to each digit. So you'd say 8 for the 5. But here's the catch. You have to do it with a slight delay, maybe keeping a rhythm, and while you're saying 8, you have to hold the next digit, the 2, in your mind, ready to add 3 to it. Then you say 5 for the 2 while holding the 9.
Wow. Okay, that sounds incredibly difficult, just juggling all that.
It's mentally exhausting, and the research actually measured this effort directly. They used pupil dilation, the size of your pupils, as a measure of mental effort. The source even calls it a window to your soul.
Seriously, your pupils give away how hard you're thinking.
Pretty much, yeah. When people started demanding tasks like add 3 or even just trying to hold 7 digits in memory, their pupils would dilate dramatically, sometimes getting 50% larger almost instantly. Their heart rate would go up too.
Yeah.
And the pupils stayed wide as long as they were actively working on the problem. But the moment they finished, and this is key, the moment they gave up
They
trying,
shrink back.
instantly, they contract right back to normal. The researchers could literally tell who'd stopped putting in the effort just by watching their eyes. It's a physical sign of that mental exertion.
So this effortful system 2 thinking, it's not unlimited. It actually consumes something, a resource.
Absolutely. It consumes mental energy. And this leads directly to what the source calls the law of least effort. Our minds, like our bodies, are kind of designed to conserve energy. If there are multiple ways to achieve something, we'll naturally gravitate towards the least demanding option.
The lazy option.
Well, the efficient option, let's say. System 1 handles everything it can automatically. System 2 is usually just idling, like in a low-effort mode, ready to step in. It only fully engages when System 1 gets stuck, finds something unexpected, or when the task explicitly demands that deliberate, focused effort.
That's why we break down big tasks, right? Or write things down.
Exactly. It offloads the burden from System 2. Trying to follow a complex argument while also, say, walking really fast is hard because your limited attention budget has to be shared between the mental task and the physical one. There's only so much effort to go around.
And this connects to that idea of ego depletion, that exerting willpower makes you tired.
Yes, precisely. This is fascinating work, pioneered by Roy Baumeister and others. They found that all kinds of voluntary effort resisting temptation, like not eating cookies when you're hungry,
I know that feeling.
or suppressing your emotions during a sad movie, or doing hard cognitive tasks, they all seem to draw on a shared, limited pool of mental energy or willpower.
So using it up on one thing leaves less for the next.
That's the idea. In one study, people who had to suppress their emotional reactions while watching a distressing film, they gave up much sooner on a later test of physical stamina, like holding a hand grip exerciser. Another classic one, people forced to resist eating tempting cookies and eat radishes. Instead, they performed much worse and quit earlier on a difficult puzzle task afterwards, compared to people who didn't have to exert that self-control around the food. It's like System 2 genuinely gets tired, fatigued, and becomes less willing or able to exert control.
A tired system 2.
Yeah.
That sounds like it could lead to problems, especially if system 1 is just maybe a bit gullible.
That's a really crucial point. System 1 has a fundamental bias towards believing. It takes information in quickly and tries to make it coherent, tries to make it true. The act of doubting, questioning, unbelieving that requires the active intervention of System 2.
It takes effort to be skeptical.
It does. Daniel Gilbert did some great experiments on this. Participants saw a stream of statements, some labeled true, some false, just after they appeared. If their System 2 was simultaneously tied up doing another task, like memorizing numbers, they were much more likely later on to remember the false statements as being true. System 2 didn't have the resources to properly tag them as false in the first place. Doubting takes effort. So if System 2 is busy or depleted or just lazy,
We just accept things.
we're much more likely to accept information uncritically. This makes us more susceptible to persuasive messages, advertising, political spin, maybe even just rumors, especially when we're tired, distracted, or feeling overwhelmed. System 1 just wants to believe.
So just knowing that system 1 is quick to believe, that's an important first step. To be more, I guess, rational, you really need to actively engage that effortful, skeptical system 2.
Exactly. And researchers like Keith Stanovich point out there are real individual differences here. Some people are naturally more reflective, less impulsive. They're better at catching those quick, intuitive errors because they're more willing to pause and engage System 2 to invest the mental effort. Understanding this basic setup, fast, intuitive, believing System 1, slow, effortful, doubting System 2, it explains so much about why we sometimes react impulsively or accept things uncritically. Often it's just System 1 running the show while System 2 is, taking a break.
Okay, so system 1 gives us these quick answers based on patterns, associations. System 2 is meant to double-check but often doesn't or can't. Where do the systematic, predictable errors, the biases, come into play?
They come directly from System 1's reliance on those mental shortcuts, the heuristics we mentioned. Heuristics are incredibly useful, right? They let us function quickly without constantly grinding through System 2 calculations for every little thing.
Sure, shortcuts are good.
But they aren't perfect. Because they are shortcuts, they sometimes lead us systematically away from logic or probability or objective fact. These systematic deviations are the biases. Think of them as like predictable bugs in the software of our fast thinking. Recognizing these biases is really key to understanding where our intuition might lead us astray.
Okay, let's talk about some of these famous biases. The halo effect, that's a classic one, isn't it?
Absolutely. The halo effect is a perfect example of how System 1 creates this coherent but potentially misleading overall impression. It's the tendency for your judgment of one characteristic, say,